Hello, my name is Jack Hedin. I am owner and operator of Featherstone Fruits and Vegetables, a 200-acre certified organic fresh market vegetable farm in Rushford, Minnesota, southeast Minnesota. I have been growing vegetables commercially for 37 seasons. This is my 37th year, and I've had the great opportunity to work in the field on farms just like this, from New England and the Mid-Atlantic area, throughout the Midwest, and also critically in the Central Valley of California. So in my 37 seasons, I have a really wide perspective on what works and what does not work in fresh market vegetables. And therefore, this series of videos that we're taking right now, we're going to make, is attempting to answer two critical questions that I think are on the minds of anyone who eats vegetables outside of the state of California. Question number one, why are there so few farms like ours, like Featherstone, that are growing vegetables on scale, not just for CSA shares and farmers markets, but also for grocery stores and wholesalers on scale, filling big trucks, filling semi-trailers, and feeding lots of people in the Midwest? Why so few farms like this day and age? And question number two, when one is able to find locally produced vegetables, organic or conventional, it doesn't matter, when one is able to find something grown east of the Rocky Mountains, why are those crops so often more expensive, not cheaper, than what's grown in California, despite the 3,000-mile transportation cost? These two questions are really important for any eater of vegetables in the eastern two-thirds of the country, and these videos are going to try to explain the answers, my interpretation of why those things are the way they are. So we'll open with a little quiz. I have four possible options why these things could be the case. Is it because in the winter it can be 25 or 30 below zero in Minnesota and that's really bad for vegetables? Is it because B, we have frosts in the upper Midwest as late as middle of April or sometimes early September that are bad for vegetables? Or is it C, because there's something about our soils in the upper Midwest that is not quite as appropriate for growing vegetables as for growing corn, beans, alfalfa, and small grains? Or D, is it because of rainfall, and in particular any amount of seasonal moisture during the growing season? Which of these four reasons is behind the shortage of serious vegetable farms in the eastern two-thirds of this country? Well, on a hot day like this, dripping with sweat, after we've received inches and inches of rain in the last couple of days, we're coming off yet another critically wet spring, it's very obvious that, in my opinion, the answer to this is D, rainfall. That's the problem. That's why there's so few vegetable farms in this part of the country, and that's why when you can find vegetables grown in Minnesota, they tend to be more expensive. It's not true. The 20 below is actually good for vegetables. 30 below is good for what we do because it freezes bugs. Certain species can't survive that during the winter. The soils we have in the upper Midwest are absolutely ideal for vegetable crops. They're way better in some cases than sands or desert conditions, desert soils that one finds in the arid West. These things are advantages, not disadvantages. Sure, a frost in May or September is not good for what we do, but it's a small marginal problem. The big problem is rainfall. So these series of videos that we're going to be making this week, this wet spring, are going to illustrate this in 5 separate points, 5 concepts that I think are important to grasp in order to understand precisely why there are so few vegetable farms like ours in the Midwest. Video number 1 will be about soil compaction as the enemy of soil health. Video number 2 is about the idea of succession plantings and how on a diverse vegetable farm we are ruled by waves of transplants coming out of the greenhouse that have to go into the field on a certain schedule in order to produce consistent crops for stores and for customers. Video number 3 will be about the idea of maintaining vegetable crops in the field. All of the different things that we have to do, from weed control, pest control, trellising tomatoes, pruning things. We are in the field constantly, every day of every week through the growing season, and when it rains, that makes it really hard for what we do. Video number 4 will be about the critical question of plant disease, foliar disease, which is by far the biggest challenge we have for consistent quality of vegetables. Bugs are not that big of a problem. Weeds we can control. We can deal with these things, but vegetable disease is a real problem, and that will be the focus of video number 4. And it's, believe it or not, It's rain driven. When it's wet, we get way more disease. Video number 5 will be about the challenges of harvesting fresh market vegetables when it's wet, muddy in the field. It's not just less efficient and slower, read more costly, but it's going to be just miserable for people and just demoralizing, and it drives people into moving these types of operations to the arid West where it's easy, where things operate on a schedule, it's clockwork, this is where our vegetables are grown. So once again, this will be a series of 7 videos introducing, explaining, and then concluding and talking about the future of this type of work in our neck of the woods, feeding people regionally grown fruits and vegetables at a scale that can supply demands of grocery stores, not just farmers markets. I think it's important. It's what I've spent my life doing, my life work's doing, and I hope you're interested in it. We'll see you next time for the first video.